Hi, welcome back to the Harpreet Singh Show, and you're watching Tania's Truth Talk. And boy, today do we have a guest for you. His name is Tony Nasif. He is the founder of the Preventing Abuse organization based out of Los Angeles, California. Welcome to the show, Tony. How are you today?
Tania, I'm doing great, and it's great to be with you.
Oh, we were just together a short period ago in Des Moines, Iowa, a couple weeks ago as I was speaking at one of your conferences again. And I tell you, Tony, you are doing amazing work. You're putting on these conferences all throughout the nations now, raising awareness on human trafficking and getting people involved, starting a real grassroots movement. How can you talk to me about how you got involved in doing this, because you were not a trafficking victim yourself?
No, in fact, Tania, I'm the last person you'd think would be involved, because I'm single, I've never been married, I don't have any children, I'm straight, and I've always been straight. But frankly, it was Jesus Christ who drew me into this, because my background isn't even in ministry, it's in business. And
Okay.
in 1997, I was inspired to write a script that connected the demonic realm with child abduction. And
What inspired you to write something about that?
Pardon me?
What inspired you to write specifically about that?
It was just an inspiration of the Holy Spirit, and he brought back my memory of cattle mutilations in Iowa in the 70s.
Oh.
And then he connected it to child abduction because it's a form of demon worship. And I made up some things that were just so incredible. I just, at one point, threw the script across the room and said, this is bizarre. I was writing about children being held in warehouses and auctioned, and I thought, this is nuts. Well, come to find out, I met people in organizations that confirmed that what I wrote in the script was actually true.
Well, it was probably prophetic, because you're a very prophetic man.
It was prophetic. Everything in the script actually happened to me after I wrote it. And then what happened is I got involved with human trafficking organizations. I served on the Los Angeles task force, and then I lost interest because I didn't see any publicity about it, and I thought maybe I'm just barking up the wrong tree. But lo and behold, I'm not going to go into the whole story, but I had a visitation from Jesus. And he said, millions of souls hang in the balance. And I said, okay, I got it. And I found out there's an estimated 30 million women and children that are victimized, a million added every year.
Yes.
And we just found out at the conference that there's a 1.2 million children reported missing every year in America.
Yeah, so we're talking just America alone. So for what that says for the globe is really scary. I mean, we're hitting a pandemic here.
Yeah, this whole thing is an act of devil worship. People try to disassociate the spiritual dynamic to the victimization, but there's a satanic culture. There's a satanic strategy to this whole thing.
Yes.
And what happens when you victimize the innocent, you bring their innocent blood, like Cain did to Abel.
Yeah.
And God said, well, your brother's blood cries out to me, and look what ended up happening. And if the blood of one righteous man caused the judgment to one brother, what's going to happen to a nation? And so we have to be mindful that there's a reality. The demons are desirous to bring innocent blood upon the nation.
Yes, and you and I have been working together for just under a year now, and I think we're both, even at the last conference that you held, you're holding these, it was your 11th annual, or your 11th Preventing Abuse conference, where this one was held in Des Moines, Iowa, and I think you and I would both agree that this one threw us through a loop. I mean, I thought I was an expert on human trafficking, and I'm even a former trafficker, and I mean, this is your 11th conference, and this one threw us for a loop, because there was a lot of information that came out that was very scary, that they are not making accessible to the public, really. And I think if the public knew about what was really going on in the human trafficking realm and in the demonic realm, this is very scary stuff.
You're absolutely right, and that's what God called me to do with these conferences. And we're planning the 11th one. That was the 10th, but the response was so overwhelming, we're going to go back to Des Moines. Now I'm planning several more conferences, and one of them is going to be Washington, D.C.,
right.
And for obvious reasons, which you touched on. And the thing is, we have to awaken the people. The key is the church. Like, remember Oscar was talking about the drug cartels.
Yes.
Well, a lot of people don't know this, but the drug cartels are using intercessory prayer to protect their drug deals. And the Lord spoke to my heart. He said, you've got to get the church activated because they are the only hope.
Yes.
They're the only hope.
Yes, I think it's true. The church needs to wake up and shake up and really literally put their boots on like Basil Baz, as we had in earlier shows, and get something done about this. And you're doing amazing work right now with the Preventing Abuse Foundation. What is the name of your website, Tony?
It's preventingabuse.org. Preventingabuse.org. Now, in the next couple of days, we're going to be putting up on the website the review, the overview of the conference, so people will get a good handle of what it is. And then later on, we're going to be announcing a series of conferences.
Well, I mean, Tony, I'm an international speaker. I speak at conferences internationally, and I can honestly tell the public right now that this conference that I spoke at in Des Moines, Iowa, that you held was the best conference I have ever been to. And this one really shook me up because I thought I've heard it all. But at this conference, you had former CIA agents, FBI agents. Explain some of the guests that you've had speaking that were keynote speakers aside from myself.
Yes, we had Noreen Gosh, whose son was abducted 30 years ago. We commemorated the 30-year anniversary of his abduction, which she discovered human trafficking 25 years before it had a name.
Yes.
She discovered that he was abducted by a pedophile network. We had the Drew and Heather Collins, the parents of a currently missing young girl, and we gave them real great encouragement when they saw Baz's presentation, and especially the film
Yes.
of reuniting the abducted or the missing child with her mother. It brought everybody to tears. And Tania, frankly, I'd like to ask you a question.
Sure.
I'd like to ask you, please, or it's a request, tell the people about the young lady who came up to your booth and told you that she was a prostitute and what happened after listening to what you had to say. This is probably one of the most moving testimonies.
Well, yes, a young lady had come up to me at my booth after she had waited for a lot of the people to leave after I was signing the books and so on. And she came up to me and she said, you know, Tania, I did what you formerly did for about 7 or 8 years. I too was prostituted, and I carried so much shame my whole entire time of being out of it, and I always hid it from people, and I never told anybody about you know, what I did because of the shame that was put on me. And then she starts weeping and she says, but Tania, after hearing your story, I believe that I have received full deliverance. And she said she was just so inspired and she felt that she was healed through the Holy Spirit. And I told her, I said, you know what? You are not your story, and your story is not you. And it's when you can fully grasp that the freedom will come. And every single time that you come forward and you talk about what you did and how you were a prostitute, you were an exotic dancer, whenever I come forward and I talk about what I did, you're giving Jesus Christ the glory every single time that you do that. And he deserves it, and we owe him that because he brought us out of that.
And this is what our conferences are doing, Tania.
Yes, they're changing lives.
We are connecting people. Through our conferences, relationships and coalitions have started. Task forces have started. Children have actually been rescued because of our conferences.
That's right.
And so, just like what happened with you, we never is going to know what this girl is going to accomplish in her life.
Yes,
because
that's right.
Because of this conference.
That's
we heard,
right.
When you were speaking, we heard people, especially when we went out here in California, people were weeping.
Tony, that's good that I can, you know, that God is using us to do that. We're going to get more into this after the commercial break. Thank you for watching Tania's Truth Talk. Tune in after the commercial break. There's more to come.